Hi everybody, it's Mrs. Shelton and we're going to get ready for this week's lesson. And for this week's lesson we are going to be focusing on fall or autumn. It's the season that we are in right now. And the project that I'm going to be sharing with you today is a collage project, and it's going to be trees. So some supplies that you guys are going to need today, if you have them, are either white paper, a variety of fall colored paper. You can really use any kind of colored construction paper that you have, if you have any. If you don't have construction paper, you can always use your white paper and you can go ahead and color it if you have crayons, markers, colored pencils, anything to turn this into some fall colors. Okay, again, we always talk about being resourceful with our supplies, so just try to do your best with being resourceful. Now, I am also going to show you next week's project, because one of the things that I'm going to need you guys to do this week is try to collect some pieces of newspaper. Newspaper works best, but if you have a magazine, any kind of flyers that come in the mail, sometimes you get these magazines that have like coupons or ads from different stores, and they come free in your mail. You can also use a magazine or a book or a catalog, anything that you can cut up, recycle. It's all about recycling. So next week's project is going to be a collage tree, and for this I use newspaper, and I cut everything out of newspaper. If you look really close, you can see the print, and I colored on top of it with crayons. Okay, so your job is to start collecting some sort of paper, newspaper, anything you have around the house is something that you can recycle, reuse, and we'll turn it into this. So we're saving this for next week. I was just kind of giving you a heads up for some supplies that you can start collecting. So let's get started on this week's project. So what we're going to do is we're going to be creating our trees so that they're kind of stacked on top of each other or layered on top of each other. So one looks like it's far away, the tall one looks like it's far away, and then we have these two that are a little bit closer, and these two that appear to be in the front. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to create these trees really quick. And I happen to have a couple different pieces of colored paper, but like I said, you can also cut these out of white paper and you can color them in. So I'm going to start with my first tree, and it's going to be this tall one. So I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to go ahead. So you can either just cut, or you can go ahead and you can draw the tree on first so you know where to cut. So I'm just going to kind of show you a couple ways to do it. So you can give yourself a guideline like this, and then you can go ahead and you can cut on the guideline. I kind of cut off the line just a little bit because I don't want to see that black line when I'm done on my tree. And we're going to make them all different shapes. Try not to make them all exactly the same. So if I made this one a tall tree, I'm only going to make one of these. Okay? The next two I'm going to cut out is this shape and this shape. This one is kind of like a tall, pointy at the top, rounded at the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut that one next. And like I said, you can either draw the tree on there if you want, or you can free cut it. This one I'm free cutting. The last one I drew, and I'm making this one a little bit fatter and shorter than my orange one, because when I put this on my paper I want it to be a little bit shorter. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut out the red one next. Okay, And I'm gonna make this one even wider. And if you notice, for some of these, I'm just kind of cutting this bumpy shape to give an illusion or the look of a tree. If you really look at it without my lines and everything, it looks like it could actually be like a cloud or something, but I'm gonna turn it this way and I'm gonna turn it into my tree. So now I have these three shapes cut out. I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna work on this yellow one. This one is going to be more of a perfect circle. And again, kind of looking like a cloud shape. I'm just making it bumpy. It's gonna be kind of a shorter one. That's gonna be my next shape. Sorry, I'll move back a little bit. Okay, and then I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna cut this one. This one is going to be very similar to this green shape. So those two are gonna be similar, and I spread them apart so they're not right next to each other, because you kind of want to make it interesting with your colors. So as I'm cutting, I will go ahead and I'll kind of talk about some fall colors that we're seeing. As I walk around and look around outside, I'm noticing that my trees, and I live in a very heavily wooded area, which means I have tons of trees in my yard. So I'm noticing change in colors daily. So my leaves are starting to go from these beautiful green leaves to like maybe changing to a lighter green, and now I'm starting to see some oranges and some yellows and a variety of different colors. So when I look out into my lawn, I see all these different beautiful trees and with a beautiful array of colors. So that's kind of what I want to see in your picture, is the different colors, and I want to see like how the trees are kind of in front of each other, behind each other, so it looks like you're looking at a bunch of trees in a big forest area. Okay, my next job is I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna add these little lines in here, and those are to look like the branches on the trees. Okay, you're not gonna be drawing leaves because the color of the paper is gonna indicate the color of our leaves, so you're just going to simply now draw the branches. I used black because it shows up the best, but again, you're gonna use whatever color you have. You can use a marker, you can use a crayon. On this one, I used a black crayon, but for now, I'm just gonna go ahead and use a black marker. But again, you can use anything that you want. So I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna start by drawing a line up the middle, so it kind of looks like this is split into two parts. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna add some lines like this. You can be creative with your lines. Doesn't have to be perfect. You're just simply showing what would kind of look like what we call an illusion of branches on here. You can get creative. So not all mine are gonna look the same. I'm gonna change it up a little. Okay, so I have that one. If you notice on this one, I kind of made my lines a little swirly or spirally. Same thing, I'm gonna draw my line up the middle. Use my green one over here. And I made kind of these spiral lines. This project's gonna take a little bit more time because we're cutting things out. We're gonna be gluing and piecing things together. If you don't get this all done in one day, that's fine, okay? You can work on it over a few days. Going ahead, adding these again. I really want to fill this up with branches so this is like a big full tree. I'm angling my branches so they go towards the top of the tree so it looks like they're growing towards the sun. Okay. Now in this one, I'm going to make this one a little bit different. I'm going to make one line up, and then I'm just going to start making a bunch of lines slanted up towards the top. to give it a little bit of creativity and make it different than the others. It makes it interesting if you make things all different. Get creative with your lines. You don't want them all to be exactly the same, okay? I know that many of you are going to want to make them all like this, but make it a variety, which means a bunch of different lines. This one, instead of making my lines aim up like the rest of them, I'm just going to make this one straight across, just so that all of my trees have a little bit of difference. And I'm just using this brown paper underneath kind of as a placemat so that I don't get this marker on the table if I go off the edge a little bit. Okay, so now I have all of my trees created. And here I'm going to take a white piece of paper. Before I glue these on, I'm going to create a ground and a sky, okay? So the grass is also kind of starting to change colors too. Like my grass is still pretty green outside, but I'm seeing in some areas where the grass is starting to get a little brown to it, so you can really kind of create whatever ground you want for your forest. I'm going to use crayons. Again, use whatever kind of coloring supplies that you have. If you don't have any supplies, you can send me an email. We can see if we can try our best to set you up with some supplies. There were some supply pickup times at the schools last week, and they did have some art kits left. I'm not sure what we have left, but if you have nothing at home, you can contact me and I can see, but I cannot promise anything, okay? We can just see if we have any items left, because I want you guys all to be able to do your best, to be able to do some artwork at home. And I know it's tough if we don't have the supplies that we need. Okay, so I made my ground. And I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to color this. Okay, the next thing you're going to need is you're going to need some glue or some tape or some way, or a stapler, some way to attach your trees to this paper. I happen to have a glue stick, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to choose my tallest tree, okay? So orange is my tallest. You do not want to put it all the way at the bottom of your paper, okay? You want to put it up a little bit because this is the ground and I want to see the tree trunks like this. So I'm going to turn this over. I'm going to put the glue on this piece of paper, not on the background. It always goes on the item that you're gluing on, okay? So I'm gluing the tree onto the background, so I'm going to put my glue here. Okay. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to put my tree like this. This is my tallest one, so I want it to kind of almost touch the top of my paper. The next two that I'm going to choose are these. And I'm going to layer these on top like a sandwich. So if I was making a sandwich, this would be my next piece. These happen to be a little bit bigger than, and I'm going to put them on top. So I'm going to put this one over to the side, put this one over, put some glue, go ahead, glue it on, glue this one on. Down here is my two smaller ones. So I'm going to kind of situate those down just a little bit. And each time I'm gluing them on, I'm scooching them down just a little bit, still leaving a little area on the bottom for my tree trunks. Glue that on. I'm going to glue this one on. Okay. Now that I have these glued on and they're kind of layered on top of each other, I'm going to go ahead, and I noticed when making these trees I cut out a little bit bigger than these trees. So you can kind of experiment. If they're too big for your paper, you can go ahead and cut them down. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add little tree trunks, and even though you can't really see the bottom of that tree, we're going to put a tree trunk so it looks like it's behind these trees. Put another tree trunk here. Okay, I might even stick another little tree trunk over here. So that would be for this tree, which is behind. Okay, now that we are done with that, in this one I put a tiny little sun in the corner. You may add a sun or you can leave it plain, whatever you want. So I'm gonna cut out a little circle. We're almost done. Okay, I'm gonna put a little bit of glue. Ahead. I always put the cap back on my glue stick because a glue stick can dry out so fast. So always remember to put the cap back on. Okay. There we go. So now I have this done. I have my beautiful fall colors. We've added these beautiful branches onto the tree. We've done a different variety of branches to kind of change it up a little bit, give it a lot of detail, make the trees look like they have a lot of texture. So I look forward to seeing what you guys make. Be creative with your supplies, and do your best. And it doesn't have to look exactly like this. You can add whatever you'd like to yours or create it out of any type of materials. And don't forget, like I said at the beginning of the video, start collecting some newspaper, magazines, extra papers, anything you can find, because next week we're going to be working on this tree, which is leaves cut out of this recycled paper and layered on top of each other. Okay, good luck, have fun. Don't forget to go to the Bitmoji classroom, and under the bluish purple star, you can submit your work. Take pictures and submit. See you guys.